Thanks for joining us here on the CBN News Channel. I'm Ephraim Graham.
And I'm Heather Sells. The nuclear crisis in Japan is now being described by the U.S. and Europe in terrifying terms like apocalypse and deteriorating. The latest development, a cooling assault from the air on reactor number 3, which may be on the verge of spewing more radiation. Helicopters are now dumping seawater into holes on the roof of damaged reactor number 3. Hoping to cool overheated uranium fuel. Just yesterday, the Japanese considered this procedure to be too dangerous, but the U.S. insisted that something be done.
We're reminded of how American leadership is critical to our closest allies, even if those allies are themselves economically advanced and powerful. There are moments where they need our help.
Experts are now saying the 180 emergency workers at the plant may be on a suicide mission. There is hope that Tokyo Electric will be able to get power lines knocked out by the earthquake back online. That could restore the plant's cooling system and ease the crisis. In the meantime, the State Department is sending aircraft to help Americans evacuate northeast Japan. And Tokyo's airport is packed with people trying to get out. This 15-year-old was sent by her parents to stay with family in the U.S.
So there was the earthquake, and then there's the radiation, and my parents kind of freaked out. So they wanted me to come and then go to my aunt's house, so I'll be safe.
The question of safety right now is confusing for many, with differing assessments from the U.S. and Japan. The U.S. is warning its citizens to stay at least 50 miles away from the plant, but the Japanese government is only advising a 12-mile safety zone. This man says it is worrying that Japanese and U.S. criteria are different, and I feel a bit doubtful about our judgment. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of Japanese evacuated from the earthquake and tsunami remain jammed in shelters, and there is little or no food, fuel, and medicine.
A San Diego man trapped near Japan's troubled nuclear reactors is pleading with the American government to help him escape. 59-year-old Michael Eckstein is staying at a friend's apartment. His wife is Japanese and his daughter is a student at the University of Hiroshima. His family is safe, but he says he's called the U.S. Embassy at least 5 times for help. Now he's speaking out via Skype.
The mood here is surreal. People are in a state of surreality. They're in disbelief. They're in shock. They're melted. They are, not to use the expression lightly, they are in a spiritual meltdown. And these people of Japan are one of the greatest countries of people that have resolve.
Eckstein also says the Japanese government is suppressing information about the nuclear situation. Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack has been in touch with the State Department about getting him out.
Operation Blessing is on the ground providing aid in Japan. David Darg is very close to the earthquake's epicenter in the Sendai area. Operation Blessing is distributing food and water to some of the thousands of people left homeless by the disaster. He filed this video blog.
The volunteers behind me are cooking meals to serve some of the thousands of displaced families in this city alone. There are 6,000 people estimated to have lost their homes in this city, and they still haven't accounted for all the missing. They don't even know how many people are missing here. The city water supply has been cut off, and the people really, really need water. So Operation Blessing brought water supplies from Tokyo. We brought food. We've delivered it here. And we've met with the leadership of the city. We've talked about how Operation Blessing can continue to support efforts here and really bolster this type of scenario. There's lots of this going on in the region, feeding centers that have been set up to serve the victims of the disaster. And Operation Blessing can provide a supply chain of food, supplies, and water to this type of feeding center. This building is full of families that have come to take refuge. These are people that have been displaced from their homes, and you can see if you look in here, families have just taken over classrooms. We're going to start serving this place as much as we can, because there are not just this school, there are many centers throughout this city that really need food, that really need water, and really need our help.
You can keep up with Operation Blessing's relief efforts through a link on our website at cbnnews.com.
Congress is expected to send President Obama another continuing resolution to keep the government running while they negotiate budget cuts. But CBN political correspondent David Brody tells us some conservatives are getting fed up with these delays.
In 3 weeks, we could be looking at a government shutdown. Republicans want about $60 billion in cuts. Democrats only about $3 or $4 billion in cuts. That's a huge difference, and if both sides don't compromise, indeed, the government could shut down. Now, there have been 6 stopgap quick measures to fund the government over this last year, but just in the last month, there have been at least 2, possibly 3. There was a 2-week measure that ends on Friday, March 18th, and then there's a 3-week stopgap measure that goes through April 8th. That's the one that will be passed this week. But after April 8th, that's it. There are no more stopgap measures. None are more expected to pass at this point. And so Republicans and Democrats are going to have to get busy and figure out how to get through some of these differences. That will be the big budget measure that goes through September. Mike Pence and many other House conservatives and Senate conservatives are not happy with the fact that there have been all these stopgap measures. They want results. They want them now. And here's Mike Pence.
Democrats, liberals in the Senate, for their part, don't want anything to do with even cutting the small amount of $61 billion compared to that massive debt. And they certainly don't want to put the sanctity of life back at the center of the federal budget like I believe a majority of Americans would choose to do. It's time to pick a fight. When you listen to Senator Harry Reid go to the floor and say that $61 billion in budget cuts is reckless and irresponsible and mean-spirited, and then he even defended federal funding for the Cowboy Poetry Institute. This just tells me that they just don't get it. They don't understand the fiscal crisis facing our nation. There is a tremendous weight of conformity in Washington, D.C., and the book I read this morning said, "Be not conform." We need to dig in. We need to reject the cultural conformity of spending in Washington, D.C., and that's going to take a confrontation. We're willing to make that stand. Nobody wants to shut down the government, but if we don't take decisive action, we're going to shut down the future for our children and grandchildren.
One of the big fights will be over Planned Parenthood funding. The House version does have a provision that would defund all the money that goes to Planned Parenthood. The problem is the Senate Democrats are going to fight it tooth and nail. That will be a point of contention in budget negotiations. David Brody, CBN News, Capitol Hill.
The Family Research Council is targeting Planned Parenthood in a webcast on human trafficking. It promoted undercover video from liveaction.org. The clips show Planned Parenthood employees conspiring with sex traffickers to provide abortions to underage victims.
They've been involved in covering up and facilitating sex trafficking. And that's something that most Americans aren't aware that's actually happening in communities across this country.
Our undercover investigations at Live Action over the past 4 years have shown that Planned Parenthood repeatedly not only covers up the abuse of girls as young as 13, but is willing and ready to work with abusers, commercial exploiters, traffickers of children.
Planned Parenthood supporters are countering, saying Live Action's videos were heavily edited.
I want to turn now to the Middle East. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is celebrating democracy in Egypt, but some young opposition leaders refuse to see her because she once supported the country's former leader, Hosni Mubarak. Still, Clinton did meet with Egypt's new prime minister, Essam Sharaf. Meanwhile, protests have not been successful, though, in Libya. Muammar Gaddafi has reclaimed nearly all of the territory lost to rebels. The UN Security Council will debate a no-fly zone to ground Libyan's air force that has been pounding the rebels from above.
The Israeli Navy says Iran is still clearly in the business of arming terrorists. As Julie Stahl reports, Israel intercepted a ship this week with 50 tons of weapons on board, thought to be bound for the Gaza Strip.
These weapons began their journey in Iran, were loaded onto a ship in Syria, and headed to Egypt. From there, Israel believes they were to have been smuggled into the Gaza Strip.
They were en route to the terror organizations in Gaza, but their ultimate target was Israel's civilian population. We've already sustained tens of thousands of rockets, missiles, mortar shells that were fired at our citizens.
Some of the weapons seized from the Victoria were on display here in the port in Ashdod. For the first time, one of these shipments included what Israel called a strategic weapon.
I'm talking about the C-704, 6 missiles that are short to sea with a range of 35 kilometers, manufactured in China, and we know that Iran also has it.
Known as the Nasser-1, this cruise missile carries a 300-pound warhead, which would have given terrorists the ability to threaten civilian and military vessels off the Gaza coast. Hidden behind bags of lentils, the shipment included 74,000 bullets and 2,000 mortar shells.
Any bomb here, even the mortar shells here, which is 60 millimeters, can kill. So we are seeing one big container of terror.
This is the 4th time in a decade Israel has intercepted a weapons ship possibly bound for Gaza. Israeli commandos requested and received permission to board the cargo ship Victoria, as seen in this Army video. Some question if Iran dropped off the weapons when it recently sent ships through the Suez Canal.
I can only say that chronologically, the Iranian warships have visited Syria, and only then the ship was loaded.
No matter how and when it happened, this weapon seizure is a clear reminder that Iran is actively building up its allies against Israel. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Ashdod Port, Israel.
Coming up, chaos engulfing the globe from Asia to the Middle East. So why is the president making his picks for the Final Four? Some are saying the president is out of touch.
Have you ever had an idea for an invention or new product? Bill Schaefer, one of the inventors of Whammo's new Splash Wash, did. He came up with the idea while watching his children play one hot summer afternoon. Bill invented a car wash for kids. Ride through it, run through it. InventHelp submitted the Splash Wash to Whammo, the makers of childhood favorites like the Frisbee, hula hoop, and slip and slide. If you have an invention you would like to try to patent and submit to corporations and want free information that explains how InventHelp may be able to assist you, call now. InventHelp is America's largest invention company with sales offices in over 50 cities nationwide. Call InventHelp today for free information. Bill Schaefer made a financial gain on the Splash Wash. However, most inventions are not successful, and Bill's experience is not typical of what inventors can expect.
For your free inventor's information, call 1-800-260-7793. That's 1-800-260-7793.
I've fallen and I can't get up. I need help.
When you are home alone and have a bad fall where you cannot move, you are stuck in a very limited area. If you cannot reach a phone, you may lay helpless on the floor for hours or days, which can result in permanent incapacitation or death.
This waterproof pendant is my magic wand. To some of the paramedics, fire department, police, or my doctor, it contacts Life Alert.
When you have a heart attack like I did, and there's no one there, Life Alert was there for me. I couldn't handle the alternative of going to a nursing home.
Thanks to Life Alert, you can live alone without ever being alone. And that's why I wear one.
New Life Alert Classic for seniors or Life Alert 50+.
Please call 1-800-586-0025 for a free brochure about Life Alert. That's 1-800-586-0025. Call us toll-free now at 1-800-586-0025. That number again, 1-800-586-0025.
President Obama has come under criticism from conservatives recently for failing to take bold leadership on the big issues facing America right now. Joining us is Dr. Charles Dunn, Distinguished Professor of Government at Regent University. Dr. Dunn, we are facing a budget crisis, upheaval in the Middle East, energy costs continuing to rise, a massive earthquake in Japan. But last week, we saw our president host a summit on bullying. He wrote an op-ed on gun control and called on Congress to pass education reform. Is he out of touch, or is this part of a calculated plan?
He's out of touch and out of sync. He's rapidly putting himself in a position of becoming the fill-in-the-blank president. He says certain things need to be done, like back up to Obamacare, but he let Congress fill in the blanks as to what Obamacare was. He makes a bold pronouncement about Libya, Gaddafi, leave, but then he leaves that to everybody else to fill in the blank as to what that means and what it should happen. So he is evading the big issues. He is addressing other issues that are not of significance, generally speaking, to the American people. So it's a very tragic time now for President Obama. He, again, is a brilliant person who could exercise strong leadership on these major issues. And in his own party, many Democrats are saying the same things as Republicans about him.
Now, Congress is at a stalemate right now when it comes to the deficit, yet the president has proposed $1.6 trillion in deficit spending for next year. Did the last election not have an impact on him, or what are we looking at?
Well, let's look at, he set up a deficit commission, bipartisan commission. He had leading people, both Democrats and Republicans, come up with, frankly, a very good proposal. But he's ignored it. He could have taken the bold, decisive leadership and saying, this deficit commission that is bipartisan, I support it. I'm going to fight for it in the Congress. Mm-hmm. So he steps back from it. He lets, again, the Congress, Nancy Pelosi and Reid, call the shots. Mm-hmm. Bill Clinton didn't allow that to happen. Lyndon Johnson didn't allow that to happen. The strong presidents had their programs and they fought for them. But we can't say that about President Obama.
That said, I want to go back to something you mentioned just a little while ago in terms of Libya. President said that Gaddafi must go, but then took little action when it came to getting him out. Is he offering leadership? Is he supporting the Libyan people?
No. And what's happening is he's probably going to give rise to another round of terrorism. Gaddafi, what will he owe America after this, assuming Gaddafi goes ahead to win, as it looks like he will? He's not going to owe us anything, so why not go back to terrorism? We opposed him at this critical time. Mm-hmm. So that does not look good. It doesn't bode well for us.
We're just about out of time, but many of the big events we've seen surround energy. Gas prices, nuclear power, oil drilling. Has the president made energy for America a top priority?
No. If he would have, he would have addressed all forms of energy. We have so much oil that's available to us, mm-hmm. Both within the continent, but also, the outside the continent, offshore oil, and then upwards in Alaska. Mm-hmm. But he's not proposed a bold energy plan in all areas of energy. Mm-hmm. And again, both Democrats and Republicans have. So it's not just, Democrats at fault.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Dunn, thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate it.
Good to be here.
Up next, former Fox News host Lori Dew making her own headlines. Hear how she conquered a 15-year addiction.
Starting a garden doesn't have to be backbreaking. Not when you have the Mantis Tiller Cultivator. It does all the hard work for you. The Mantis Tiller weighs about 20 pounds. It's easy for anyone to handle. 3 convenient power options spin the patented tines deep into the soil. They dig down, cutting through the hardest clay and tangled weeds. They're so tough, they're actually guaranteed never to break. And on our 2-cycle model, Mantis offers the best start engine option. It's our easiest starting 2-cycle tiller ever. Tilling, weeding, and cultivating have never been easier. And now you can get this amazing Mantis Tiller Cultivator at huge savings. Order now, and we include a kickstand accessory, this border edger attachment, and free shipping. Use the Mantis for a full year, and if you're not delighted, return it for a prompt, no questions asked refund.
Call 1-800-707-2105 today for a free DVD and information kit. That's 1-800-707-2105.
Attention those on Medicare with diabetes. You may be eligible for an upgraded meter.
If you're tired of stabbing your fingertips to test your blood glucose, we have news that could change your life. If you're on Medicare with diabetes, then you need to know there's an alternative method for checking your blood glucose every day. You don't need to stab your fingertips anymore. The Embrace meter from Diabetes Care Club is easier to use and nearly painless. And the best news is that Diabetes Care Club would love to send you one of these meters. This method hurts less, and because you can see and hear your results, it may be easier to understand.
Your blood glucose reading is 89.
Call now to find out why. Nearly 250,000 patients have joined Diabetes Care Club. Membership is free, so is the call.
Call 1-800-833-8011.
Talk to Diabetes Care Club. You'll be glad you did.
March is a landmark month in the life of former Fox News co-host Lori Dew.
This month, Dew has been sober for 4 years, and recently she met with Wendy Griffith in New York City to talk about the addiction that she kept secret for 15 years.
From the early 90s to just a couple of years ago, Lori Dew was a familiar face on network news. She has the distinction of being the only person to anchor at all big three cable networks, CNN, MSNBC, and most recently Fox, where she served as anchor from 2000 to 2008 and also hosted her own weekend show. But behind Lori's impressive career, glamorous looks, and rising star status was a painful secret she hid for more than a decade.
When people look at me, they say, "You don't look like an alcoholic. How on earth could you have these kinds of problems?" But outward appearances are obviously very deceiving, and they certainly were in my case. From the outside, I had it all. I had a great job at Fox News Channel. I had more friends than I could count, family that loved me, a beautiful apartment, the ability to take nice vacations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. None of that mattered because in the inside, I was a shell of a person. My self-esteem was very low, which is why in my 20s I turned to alcohol.
Where do you think that low self-esteem came from?
Some of my low self-esteem, I think, started in my teenage years when a lot of us go through that awkward period. Well, I was very awkward. I was very tall and gawky and not one of the popular girls. And I think when I got a little older, alcohol was a way for me to fit in.
How bad did it get?
When my drinking was at its worst, I would drink heavily 2 or 3 nights a week and end up going to work or on weekends very hungover and playing the same tape in my head over and over again. How could I have done this again? How could I have gone out and gotten so drunk last night when I swore that I was only going to have 1 or 2 drinks? And that was a question that after years and years of asking, I stopped asking. Why did I do this? I just accepted the fact that that's how I thought I had to live. I really and truly thought that I had to drink every day or every other day in order just to live a normal life. I drank to make myself more interesting to others, and I drank to make other people more interesting. When the truth of the matter is, I was very interesting the way I was, and that alcohol was not doing me any favors. It just took me a really, really long time to realize that. But when I did, it was like a light went off. And I was so ready to get sober because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. So when I made my decision, I literally got on my knees and I begged God for help the morning of March 14th, 2007. I said, "I cannot do this anymore, God. Please help me." And that's when I knew the fight was over.
How did your faith play a part in your recovery?
My faith has played an enormous role in my sobriety. I would not be where I am, which is 4 years sober, 4 years without a drink, without God's help.
How do you negotiate a cocktail party these days?
I tend to go to a cocktail party for about 30 to 45 minutes. I say hi to everyone I need to say hi to. I shake hands, I have short conversations with people, etc., and then I leave.
And you drink Pellegrino.
And I drink Pellegrino. You know, I wish I had bought stock in either Perrier or Pellegrino 4 years ago because that's all I drink. It's probably all I will drink the rest of my life. Sometimes it's Pellegrino with lemon. Sometimes it's Pellegrino with lime. Sometimes if I'm really crazy, it'll be an orange slice. Or maybe I'll mix it with orange juice. But it's all about the sparkling water. And that's okay. I love it.
You've said now that the genie is out of the bottle. You just want to help people. How do you want to help people?
I want to help people know that they are not alone. There are so many people who have an addiction to something, but maybe they're afraid to admit it. And even if they admit it, they're afraid to get help because they don't know where to go and they don't know what to do and they don't know that there are literally tens of thousands of resources out there available.
Today, Lori runs her own media training business and is hoping to get back on network news. She says Fox let her go because her contract had expired and they couldn't come to an agreement, not because of alcohol. But says no matter what the future holds, she's happier today than she's ever been.
I'm grateful because going through this journey of sobriety and increasing my spiritual life has made me a much stronger person and a much happier person. And the woman you see sitting before you today is a really happy one. I feel like I'm finally becoming the woman I was meant to be. And perhaps I'm becoming the woman God wants me to be.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News, New York.
Very bold of her to share her story.
Indeed, indeed. Powerful story, and certainly will touch a lot of lives knowing what was going on behind the scenes.
Right. We will be right back. Stay with us.
Millions of women worldwide love Bare Minerals.
This is smooth, it's nice, and it covers. I like that.
Only Bare Minerals looks like beautiful bare skin, while it covers whatever you want it to. And now you can get our latest kit with our totally new, totally spill-proof Click Lock Go foundation. For over 75% off retail, our new kit comes with Bare Minerals foundation in the shade that's just right for you. Warmth for a healthy glow. Mineral Veil, the ultimate finishing touch, and Bare Minerals Flawless Application Brush. Call now and get 3 full-size gifts worth $57.95 free. Purchased separately, you'd spend over $120. Our original Get Started kit was a great deal at 2 payments of $29.99. But now you can get all this for just 1 payment of $29.99. Save over $90 and get a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Call 1-800-376-4174. Ask how you can receive this handy compact. Call 1-800-376-4174 now.
If you have diabetes and you're on Medicare, call now for a new pain-free meter. These new meters are more accurate, they're easier to use, and the best news is you don't have to prick your fingers anymore. Call now and Areva Medical will send you one of these new meters for free. And if you have Medicare, your testing supplies may also be covered. Areva makes it simple. They bill Medicare directly. There are no upfront costs. And they deliver your supplies right to your door for free. With these new meters, there's no coding, you don't have to prick your fingers, and some of these meters even talk.
Your blood glucose reading is 122.
And if you call 1-800-284-9762, we will send you a free Betty Crocker Diabetes Cookbook filled with delicious recipes.
Call Areva today. You'd be glad you did.
Former boxing champion Muhammad Ali wants Iran to release the 2 American hikers it's held since 2009. Their families say Josh Fatal and Shane Bauer crossed the Iranian border by mistake. Iran's government says they are spies. In a letter, Ali asked Iran's Supreme Commander Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, as a fellow brother in Islam, to show mercy and compassion for the 2 men. The 69-year-old former boxer is the founder of a Center for World Peace in Louisville, Kentucky. Ali traveled to Iran in the early 90s when he tried to secure the freedom of a prisoner during the Iraq-Iran war.
Haiti has released an American missionary imprisoned for more than 5 months. Danny Pye had worked in Haiti for about 8 years. In October, authorities detained and jailed him after a court hearing involving a property dispute. Though the dispute was settled, officials held him without any explanation or formal charges. Last week, his wife contacted the American Center for Law and Justice, who met with the Haitian ambassador and State Department officials. The authorities agreed to release Pye, who is now planning to return to his home in Florida.
And that is going to do it for this hour of the CBN News Channel. You can find more on today's top headlines at cbnnews.com.
You can also stay up to date with CBN News through Facebook and Twitter. We hope you'll join us next time and have a great St. Patrick's Day.
Have you ever had an idea for an invention or new product? Bill Schaefer, one of the inventors of Whammo's new Splash Wash, did. He came up with the idea while watching his children play one hot summer afternoon. Bill invented a car wash for kids. Ride through it, run through it. InventHelp submitted the Splash Wash to Whammo, the makers of childhood favorites like the Frisbee, hula hoop, and slip and slide. If you have an invention you would like to try to patent and submit to corporations and want free information that explains how InventHelp may be able to assist you, call now. InventHelp is America's largest invention company with sales offices in over 50 cities nationwide. Call InventHelp today for free information. Bill Schaefer made a financial gain on the Splash Wash. However, most inventions are not successful, and Bill's experience is not typical of what inventors can expect.
For your free inventor's information, call 1-800-260-7793. That's 1-800-260-7793.
Finding video on CBN.com just got easier. We've taken all our video, the 700 Club, news, testimonies, teachings, plus our 24/7 channels, and put them in one most convenient location, CBN TV. Watch what you want, when you want. It's all simple to find, and now easier than ever to email a story to a friend. CBN TV on CBN.com.